Here we go. Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
Welcome to the Endurance for Everyone podcast.
Hey guys, it's Rob, and I'm back with part 2, I'm calling it, of my, rail trails advocacy type of thing here. So, previous episode, I just, sprint episode, I covered, just 2 short stories about the trail, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of my background, minute or less, with the trail, my experience, I should say, then, what some of the resources are that I've seen that you guys all would have access to if it's something you're interested in. So my, like I said, I've ridden on these things a bunch through my life, never knew much about them. I actually got involved with my local trail group because when I was trying to run to lose weight, I didn't want to be out in public. I didn't want to be running up and down sidewalks or going to school track or anything. So I found the local rail trail, which was actually close to my house, which was fortunate. It's a 10.5 mile one-way trail, so you could have a 21 mile trip on it, out and back workout if you're running that long or biking. Close the traffic, which is very nice. Nice and safe and flat and always open. So when I was using it so much, I kind of got looking around to see what it was. I got involved, got on the board of it, and time flies. I'm still involved with it years later. And a couple things about our trail, not giving names and discussing it, is the board is very small, works very efficiently, and they're very proud that since its initial funding, which is state and federal money, it's just solely sustained on donations from people. You don't really think about it, but it has to come from somewhere. 20 some years, we've never had a public fundraiser. So these things are out there and if you're thinking like, oh, it's great to have this, as you've heard me say before with some of these groups, any of them, they always either need your time or your money. So if you can either, give either one to them, it would be very beneficial. That being said, I'm going to take it the next step with 2 just brief resources, and one can be used for, I'm going to call it your general planning, if you were looking for it. And it's one thing I do when I'm going somewhere, like it just sounds weird or simple, oversimplified. If I'm going somewhere on vacation, make it up, Missouri, I'll put in, Missouri, and I'll Google maybe triathlon, or I'll put in, marathon, just to see if there's any of those in the time frame. Additionally, some of the things that you can look for is you can put in rail trail, and it'll come up usually just using those key searches. Most of the time, you're going to be directed back to rails2trails.org, and it's basically the Rails to Trails Conservancy, which shows you some existing trails. It shows you projects that are in the work. It also then links you to those different, I talk about riding on the Gap Trail. We did 150 miles, but we were actually on several different sections going through there of these smaller, as they build them in sections through different counties, different, not-for-profits are formed, but then you have these overarching governing body, if you will, that helps to keep it all kind of cohesive in order for the, I'm going to say, marketability, in order to get it out there so that more people know they exist. Like I said, most of the time you're going to get directed back to this Rails to Trails conservative fee, rails2trails.org. You can look and find stuff there. The other resource I wanted to share was go2trails.com. That's once again go2trails.com, and it basically, once again, it shows you, I say regionally, some of the things that are in the works. As an example, I talk about Pittsburgh to DC. There's also what they're calling this is all part of a certain region. It's actually part of the Industrial Heartlands Trail, which has a different website, iHeart Trails. But it basically, if you're looking at Western Pennsylvania, it actually encompasses this region up to Buffalo, over to Cleveland, way down into, West Virginia and parts of Ohio, like, almost halfway to Columbus. And it shows you the existing trails that are there, but also the greater plan of where these are looking to go. Now, you don't really know my area. You can put some of these into Google and you can see this, though. You heard me say Pittsburgh's 2.5 hours away from me. Well, there is a plan in the works, a master plan that eventually is going to almost connect my town to Pittsburgh, to where I'd be able to go what is a car ride, 2.5 hours, hundreds of miles, on a completely closed loop, close the traffic. And, part of the trail that I'm on, the committee, I should say, it would essentially use the first 10 miles of ours. Then there's an abandoned railway, which connects us to the next town, Du Bois. There's that rail system connects over to the next town, which eventually gets you to Red Bank, Pennsylvania. That then parallels Route 28, which gets you all the way down. And there's sections of these trails that exist, and there are sections that don't. That's why I'm saying, you heard me say earlier in this show and previous, get out there and look and see what's available, because the more people use it and the more people support the trails that are there, the better off they're going to be. Additionally, something a lot of you may not know is the government has, I say government, both state and federal, has lots of money earmarked and set aside for what's called multimodal means of transportation. And that being said, is they're looking at, I don't know how to say otherwise other than green alternatives to just roads, into just highways. They're looking at waterways for kayaking. They're looking at canoeing. They're also looking at rail trails, but not just a rail trail like it has to be an abandoned railway. They look at everything from bike lanes, to make them if they don't exist, to walking trails, to some of them are actually then rail with trail. So if there's an existing railway and it's going to be a main part of a connector, they'll use some money to eventually put a trail, once again, separate from the railroad tracks, but it's in the same corridor, so that way you're protected and away from traffic. I don't know if any of you guys are interested in this, and it's not something that you're going to enjoy tomorrow. But once again, and you heard me say this story in the last sprint, where my dad went to camp, and it was a railway line at that time. In my youth, it was, I was going and riding on a very short trail, and now, here it is 2 decades later, it's one continuous trail that thousands and thousands of people, have access to. So it's something where, if you're thinking, this is going to take way too long, it's something that, you could at least get out there, get started, even if you can only give a year. And that being said, is my rail trail committee, we meet 4 times a year for 1 hour, just to make some decisions, and then we all kind of do our little things and, be our points of contact. So any time that you can give is going to be able to help out and help push these initiatives further down the line. So that way we're going to have this stuff available in our golden years or, for your kids' golden years. Continue to make these, happen and be better and better as time goes. So in the short term, you can get out there on those websites and just find the trails, find the access, and see what, how far you can go and what you can do. And in the long term, same thing. Let's see how far we can go and what we could do. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
If you have comments or questions for the show, send an email to teamE4E@enduranceforeveryone.com. And remember, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.